Good morning. This is Meep. Here's Mornings with Meep. I'm a little hoarse today because I went into the city yesterday and did quite a bit of karaoke. Um, so I'm all sung out. Like last week, I'm not interested in actually talking about my posts from the past week, though they're chock full of, depressing pension stories. Go take a look. I'll link to them in the description. That came out this weekend. One is on the front page of the New York Times today from Mary Williams Walsh, who's always been great at covering public pension issues in the Times for years. And so she has a story pretty long out today, and I will link to it, on a 76,000 are short on cash. And this is primarily about Oregon specifically, but some of this extends beyond Oregon. So I'm going to just quote a little bit of this. Oregon, like many other states and cities, including New Jersey, Kentucky, and Connecticut, is caught in a fiscal squeeze of its own making. Its economy is growing, but the system is growing faster. More government workers are retiring, including more than 2,000, like Dr. Robertson, that's the one with the 76,000 per month pension, who get pensions exceeding $100,000 per year. The state is not the most profligate pension payer in America, but its spiraling costs are notable in part because Oregon enjoys a reputation for fiscal discipline. I don't know where that came from. So just going to skip over. Oregon's costs are inflated by the way in which it calculates pension benefits for public employees. Some of the pensions include income that employees earned on the side. Other retirees benefit from long ago stock market rallies that inflated the current value of their payouts. For example, the pension for Mike Bellotti, the University of Oregon's head football coach from 1995 to 2008, included not just his salary, but also money from licensing deals and endorsements that the Ducks athletic program generated. His pension is more than $46,000 per month. So what's interesting about Oregon is they do have all sorts of crazy benefit enhancements that make it more and more expensive. Go read the whole thing there. Again, a lot of it is just focusing on what Oregon itself has done, but elements of it have shown up in other states. So moving on to the second item, Wirepoints. Now, they've been great on coverage for Illinois pensions, obviously, for quite some time, but since Ted Dabrowski has come over to Wirepoints, we've been getting a lot more numerical analysis, as it were, coming into their pieces, and they have one. It's referencing Harvey, Illinois. Harvey, the first domino in Illinois, and there are some facts specific to Harvey and them under-contributing to their pensions for many years and being in a pretty bad state. What happened is that there was a court case where they were forced to increase their tax rates to make pension payments. There had been a state law passed in 2011 where the state could garnish local taxes. So money that was supposed to go back into Harvey, state grabbed onto that to pay for the pensions. And Harvey's actually the first municipality in Illinois to have this happen. And it's not because it's the only one who's been under-contributing. It's not because it's in the worst funded position compared to all of the funds. And Ted and I think it's John Klingner really dig into the numbers, lots of graphs on this one. But I want to comment on one thing. So why is it Harvey? Why was that one dinged and the other cities haven't yet? And that's the yet is the important part. Because basically to get the ball rolling, I believe, I don't know if it's the unions or the fund itself, have to ask the state to intervene. So with nearly 2/3 of pension funds, this is those municipal police and fire funds, not getting the contributions they required in 2016, and a nearly $10 billion shortfall already in place. And again, this is just the municipal plans. This is not the state. The state hole is much bigger than $10 billion. It's a wonder more cities haven't had their revenues garnished. So why Harvey? The answer lies in city and union officials' protection of the status quo. Even union officials don't want the state to garnish city revenues because they know what will result: layoffs and pay cuts, and that's what's happening in Harvey right now. They'd rather sacrifice pension funding now to grow current payrolls because that's where their power comes from, dollars right now. And if the pension funds collapse, when, um, they're gambling that the constitutional protections will bail them out, that an ever-shrinking number of taxpayers will be forced to pay no matter what, and then that they will be shackled to the land and you can extract the money, and they won't go somewhere else. Yeah, good luck with that. But this has been a situation, again, it's not unique to Illinois. They do have that law, and a lot of states don't have any kind of law where the unions can force the employers to contribute more to and contribute 100% contributions to the pension funds. And this leads to the final item I want to cover, which is, let's see if I can get it in, there we go, Skin in the Game, Hidden Asymmetries in Daily Life by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. And I've only gotten through the book 1 prologue, which looks like it's the largest section in the whole book. The book itself is not very long. It reads very fast. Let me see if I can show you. Here's a representative page. And you can see I'm getting highlight happy. He's very, very quotable, and I know he knows it, and that's kind of what he vlogs, but that's fun. So a couple items here. You will never fully convince someone that he is wrong. Only reality can. And he does get into this. That doesn't mean they will be convinced, actually. If they fail, if they're wrong, that kind of thing, they can make excuses. One of his arguments, and this is something I've been thinking through with regards to public pensions, is that skin in the game, so where you are exposed both to upside and downside risk for the decisions you're making, naturally weeds out losers. It's not that people will be convinced, it's that you get rid of those who keep failing. And let me see if I can find the particular, okay, let's see, sorry about that. Time removes the fragile and keeps the robust. And this actually, to a certain extent, goes back to G.K. Chesterton's fence idea, that you see a fence up, you don't know why it's there, it just kind of annoys you that it's there, but it's been there for a very long time. And Chesterton says, if you don't know why the fence is there, you should not be the one to make the decision to get it removed. And I think Taleb goes up to a step farther. He says that, those who aren't taking the risk should not be the decision makers, and I'm understanding that quite a bit. But one of the problems, fools of randomness are purged by reality, so they stop harming others. So he is a little pessimistic, saying a lot of people don't learn, and luckily the losers who don't learn get removed. But that's not how it works in public pensions, unfortunately. So for another one, and this is the last one I want to pull from this section, as I said, he's very quotable. I'm enjoying this book a lot, and I see why a lot of people hate it. I'm not saying that I love it. There are issues, but he calls out people by name. I'm sure they're not happy about that. His name dropping is almost all negative. Anyway, government interference in general tends to remove skin in the game. And that's the problem. And how do I get around that? Here's the issue. The politicians, the fund managers, the public plan the public employees, the retirees, etc., don't have real skin in the game, or rather, they don't think they do. All of the DB pensions, and the way they are built up, are very asymmetrical. They tend to ratchet up benefits only in one way, and then you can't claw them back. So who gets the downside? This is what we call about the taxpayer put, but it's assumed. Here's the thing about options. You assume somebody can pay off on the option. And what if they can't? So I'm not sure. I don't think Taleb is necessarily going to address this situation of people who think that they can be reckless and think they don't have skin in the game, and ultimately they do. But I think part of his argument is that if you want to have robust systems, anti-fragile systems is what he likes to call them, not to have these great disasters like the credit crisis in 2008, you need to prevent basically risk takers who don't get any of the downside, because they will inject more leverage into the system because that gives them a bigger payoff. So similarly for public pensions, what would really help with public pensions, and I believe Wisconsin has an aspect of it, I know New Brunswick in Canada does, and I think the Netherlands pensions do as well, is that there needs to be some skin in the game, that pensioners realize underfunding will hurt them, too much risk and too little risk taken in their asset portfolio backing the pensions hurts them. But they think that they're shielded from all of that. And the problem is the moment they're not, and all of this time they assumed they were, you get a disaster. Anyway, happy tax day on Tuesday. So